Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Friday that his country is committed to ending the war with Russia, but he urged dozens of European leaders to ramp up sanctions if President Vladimir Putin continues to play for time in talks aimed at securing a truce. According to Associated Press, Russia and Ukraine were holding their first direct peace talks in 3 years, in the Turkish port city of Istanbul, but officials and observers expected them to yield little immediate progress on stopping the more than 3-year war. Ukraine is ready to take all realistic steps to end this war, Zelensky told leaders gathered for a summit of the European political community. But he warned, if it turns out that the Russian delegation really is just theatrical and can't deliver any results today, the world must respond. That reaction, he said, should include sanctions against Russia's energy sector and banks.
He didn't agree to anything. Putin, and you can also see, you know, that this week had a real chance to take important steps toward ending this war, if only Putin had not been afraid to come to Turkey. I was in Ankara yesterday, and thanks for participation and hosting us, President Erdogan, and I was ready for a direct meeting with Putin, whether in Ankara or in Istanbul, and not just for a meeting, but to resolve all the important issues to my mind. But he didn't agree to anything, Putin. And you can also see that the Russian delegation that came to Istanbul is of a very low level. None of them are people who actually make decisions in Russia. Still, I send our team to Istanbul, led by Ukraine's Minister of Defense, at least to see if those Russians can actually decide anything. Our #1 priority is a full, unconditional and honest ceasefire. This must happen immediately to stop the killing and create a solid basis for diplomacy, first of all. If it turns out that the Russian delegation really is just theatrical and can't deliver any results today, the world must respond. There needs to be a strong reaction, including sanctions against Russia's energy sector and banks. Pressure must continue to rise until real progress is made.
Russia and Ukraine held their first direct peace talks in 3 years Friday, gathering in Istanbul for Turkish-brokered negotiations, but officials and observers expected them to yield little immediate progress on stopping the more than 3-year war. According to Associated Press, a Ukrainian delegation led by Defense Minister Rustem Umerov sat down with a low-level Russian team headed by presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky. The officials present sat around a U-shaped table, with the Russians and Ukrainians facing each other. A senior Ukrainian official close to the talk said that Kiev's delegation was prepared to achieve a lot today, and with a real mandate to resolve key issues. The official, who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to make official statements, said the outcome hinges on whether Moscow is equally serious. Both countries have tried to persuade U.S. President Donald Trump, who has expressed frustration over the slow progress and threatened to punish foot-dragging, that they are eager to resolve the conflict amid extensive diplomatic maneuvering. The latest push to end the fighting got off to a rocky start on Thursday, when Russian President Vladimir Putin spurned an offer by Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky to meet face-to-face. Delegations from the two countries also flew to different Turkish cities and put together teams of significantly different diplomatic heft for possible talks. Although expectations for a possible Putin-Zelensky meeting were low, the apparent lack of traction in peace efforts frustrated hopes of bold steps being taken in Turkey toward reaching a settlement.
Saygıdeğer katılımcılar, Ukrayna ve Rusya arasındaki müzakerelerin yeniden başlaması vesilesiyle hepinize İstanbul'a hoş geldiniz diyerek sözlerime başlamak istiyorum. Tüm tarafların barışa olan güçlü taahhütlerinin önümüzdeki yeni bir fırsat penceresi açtığını görmekten memnuniyet duyuyoruz. Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımız ve Sayın Trump'ın barış çağrılarına sayılması yönünde önemli bir adım olmuştur. Görüşmelere katılan Rus heyetini ağırlamaktan da aynı derecede memnuniyet duyuyoruz. Her iki tarafın temsilcilerini İstanbul'da misafir ediyor olmamızda bir hususu bilhassa vurgulamak isterim. Bundan sonraki aşamayı yapacağımız tercihler ve atacağımız adımlar doğrultusunda hep beraber belirleyeceğiz. Bu görüşmelerin bir liderler toplantısının temelini oluşturması da Türkiye, savaşı sona erdirme ve barışı sağlama yönündeki çabalarımızda her daim
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski joined the leaders of dozens of European countries and organizations for a one-day summit in Albania's capital Friday to discuss security and defense challenges across the continent, with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine at the top of the agenda. According to Associated Press, on the eve of the summit in Tirana, Russian President Vladimir Putin spurned an offer by Zelensky to meet face-to-face in Turkey to try to secure a ceasefire with Moscow, sending a low-level delegation instead. Russia is the one major European power not invited to the summit, along with Belarus, its neighbor and supporter in the war with Ukraine. The next EPC meeting will take place in Denmark later this year.